Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Unleashed Alchemy, where on this show we talk about embracing our spiritual transformation, our elevated consciousness to live the soul fulfilled life that we came here to live, to experience a spiritual revolution, a spiritual movement in our lives, and ultimately that positively influences the world. All right, so welcome. If you are new here, I appreciate you being here. Comment. I'd love to hear how you found me, how you came across this show. All right, I'm excited that you're here. If you have been watching, thank you for your continued support. We are all here as alchemists, magicians, spiritual warriors, because we know that we are the salt of the earth. We know that when we understand that we are the salt of the earth, we experience those positive changes in our lives first, and then that goes out into the world. All right, so I'm excited that we are a group here. All right, so let's get other people involved as well. All right, share this channel, share this episode. All right, so let's get into it. What is today's episode? So there are a few things that I want to talk about. The backbone of this episode is talking about the harmonic integration, the harmonic mix of our pain and our spiritual calling. All right. So I have never talked about this in this way that I'm going to talk about it in today's episode. So just get comfortable. All right. So let's go. Your pain, your calling, your wisdom, your medicine, your spiritual gifts. Imagine that they have all been mixed into a cauldron, into a bag, whatever comes to mind, whatever comes to your imagination, just go with that. And in that vessel, in your vessel, you are the vessel, you hold keys to a calling that is unique to you. You hold the key to purposes that are unique for you to fulfill. All right? So, when we talk about pain, we can transform that pain into uncovering what that calling is. We can use our wisdom from the pain that we experienced to assist us in fulfilling that calling. We can transform the pain that unleashes our soul's essence, that carries us to the calling, carries us through the calling to fulfill the calling. All of it goes together. All right? And that's why I called it a harmonic integration, because that's what it is. So, when we look at pain, I want to give you an example of how I have alchemized pain in my life to allow and surrender to embodying the calling, okay? My calling. So first thing that I had to do was to name the experience. I'm just going to use one example. So you may have heard me mention in other videos that I grew up in a religious cult. And I did not leave the cult until I was in my early 20s. Now, why is that significant? Because up until, I would say, probably about 5 years ago, that wasn't that long ago, up until 5 years ago, I was able to call the pain what it was, call the experience what it was. It was a cult. why did it take me so long to identify it in that way, to identify it for what it was, is because I was concerned about other people and what they would think. I was concerned whether other people would think that I would be telling their story. But this was my story. It was a source, growing up in the cult was a source of pain for me. Didn't say anything about my family, but that was a source of pain for me. And it wasn't until I was able to say that I would be free, that something would shift on the inside of me. The shift was internal first. And then once I was able to voice that and just to say it, just like I have said it, just like I just said it, I grew up in a cult. It was almost like I jumped timelines. That's how it felt. To say that, to think about and observe that experience, even right now, it feels like it was lifetimes ago. I literally mean it feels like it was lifetimes ago. I look at it and think, wow, I really got through that. It almost doesn't seem real. All right? So, why is it important to name the experience? I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to say a few more things before I answer that. So, when you consider pain, your pain as an aspect of your calling and who you came here to be, may sound contradictory to the fact that painful experiences cause us to live a life based on programming. So if I recount my example of my own story, growing up in a cult, yes, I left physically when I was in my early 20s, but the programming I continued to live out even beyond my early 20s. And I've talked about that in another video. I won't go over it in this video, what that programming looked like. But our painful experiences can cause us to live a life of programming. So you may be saying, okay, well, that's contradictory. Why would I consider a painful experience that programmed me to essentially ignore my true soul's identity? Why would I consider an experience that caused me to ignore my true essence, that caused me to ignore my true calling? Here's why. You have to understand that pain does not move. It does not cancel out. It does not devalue. It does not get rid of. It does not omit your true identity, your essence, your calling. All of that magic remains. Period. It is there. So, when you surrender to your spiritual elevation, spiritual transformation, that is the opportunity for all of that programming to fall away, no longer clouding your true identity and your calling. Your calling unfolds. It unfolds and unfolds and unfolds and unfolds and unfolds. Okay? So you can approach your calling and your spiritual gifts with an edge, with a confidence, with surety, yet with a softness in your body, so that you are letting spirit know, you are letting your elevated guides know, so that you are letting your elevated angels know, so that you are letting your elevated ancestors know that you now recognize your body as a vessel of, I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to miss anything, as a vessel of love, healing, wisdom, peace, prosperity. So you can approach your calling with all of these painful experiences that are now alchemized. So you now go from viewing your painful experience as something that you survived to something that you have thrived beyond. Here's another point that I want to make. Because while you were surviving the painful experience, your magic, your vessel was being infused with wisdom. Your spiritual gifts were being sharpened. Through the painful experience, your soul has always been thriving and continues to do so. So, when you consider your pain as an aspect of your calling and who you came here to be, you're not wallowing in your pain. When you call it for what it was. So if you're watching this, let me just pause here. If you're watching this and you have had a painful experience and you are stopping yourself from calling it, just naming it what it was, I encourage you to do that now. Don't even watch the rest of this video. Just go in and look in the mirror and say, this is what I experienced by this person, that person, however, but call it for what it is. I promise you that you are going to experience a complete spiritual revolution in your life. And you're going to feel it internally first. It may come with tears. All right, let the tears flow. Okay? Your tears wash away what is no longer necessary, while also clearing the path for your soul's essence to unfold for you. All right? So I wanted to pause there and say that. So let me go back. When you consider your pain as an aspect of your calling, you're not wallowing in it. Now that you have been able to observe it, or now that you have been able to call it for what it was, because when you call a painful experience what it was, you're honoring your soul, you're honoring your body, you're honoring your own spirit. Because you're using your Heka, the power of your voice, to free yourself, to free your emotions. All right? You're not wallowing in it. Again, you are recognizing the harmonic integration of your pain, your essence, your gifts, and your calling, who you came to be in this world, and the purposes that you came to fulfill. When you do that, this amazing thing happens, is that you will start to see how through, because I mentioned this earlier, that through that painful experience, if you're just want to just focus on one, you will see in that painful experience that you were actually using your spiritual gifts. For example, let's take intuition. We all have it. We don't always use it. And intuition can look like, I won't even go into that because even that's a totally different video in itself. But there are infinite ways that infinite intelligence speaks through us and gives us messages. All right. So, for example, I know that I am a reader. Through my painful experiences, that being able to read people, whether I wanted to or not, all right, even as a child, I could be sitting next to someone could walk past me, and I would be able to know that this person just got into an argument with someone. Why did I need to know that? I didn't, but I knew it. It was a knowing. And even through my painful experience of growing up with in a cult, that particular spiritual gift was being sharpened. Okay? I also realized that I was being taught how to put a boundary on that as well. It's another amazing thing that happens. So that is why it's important to name that experience. If you have not already done so, just name it. Okay, call it what it is. So that is the video, all right? If you want additional support in what we just talked about, I have the Unleashed Alchemy Mystery School, which you can enroll in at any time. It is a support system that will bring you a spiritual revolution in your own life. You're going to experience a spiritual movement in your life, all right? It will prepare you for stepping into and embodying your spiritual calling and approaching your calling with complete confidence, regardless of any circumstance that could bring a challenge to you right now, regardless of who you're surrounded by. You will be able to transcend beyond that. All right. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one through this, what we just talked about, I am still taking one-on-one appointments. Both of the links to schedule a one-on-one and to also sign up for Unleashed Alchemy Mystery School, it will be in the description box of this video. So I appreciate you for being here, all fellow alchemists, magicians, spiritual warriors. We are the salt of the earth. All right. So until next time, cheers.